yet another lesson in web development. Given that we've created our tables in our previous lesson, today we'll focus on managing data. With that said, let's have a look at the objectives for today's lesson. Today is going to be fairly brief. Much like in our previous lesson where we explored DDL statements in greater detail, today we'll focus on exploring DML statements, otherwise known as data manipulation language. And then we'll wrap things up with a practical demonstration where we'll actually insert and update the data inside of our SQL tables. Let's start by revisiting the concept of DML statements. Well, first of all, we use DML statements in the event that we want to read and manipulate existing data inside of our schema objects, in this case, a table. We can do the same with views, for example. DML statements include commands such as select, update, insert, and delete. And we'll explore the usage of these statements in today's practical demonstration. So what are some of the common DML statements that we tend to use when it comes to SQL databases? Well, we actually just covered them. The first is the select statement, otherwise known as a DQL statement as well. This is essentially the abbreviation for data query language, but I decided to slot it under DML statements because they are closely related. We also have the update statement, and this statement allows you to update a specific record inside of a table with a given amount of parameters. We also have the insert statement, and this varies quite significantly from the update statement in that the insert statement inserts a brand new record inside of a table. And then lastly, we have the delete statement, which is pretty much self-explanatory. This statement allows you to delete an existing record inside of a database. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into our practical and let's start managing the data inside of our SQL database. Now, before we get started with this demo, we want to make sure that all of the admin is out of the way. First of all, we want to make sure that our XAMPP control panel is active, and that is to say that our Apache server and our MySQL service needs to be running in the background. Once that's been completed, you can also visit your database in your localhost phpMyAdmin. And if you recall from our previous lesson, we created this database called MyDB with two tables, categories, as well as products with various columns included inside of these tables. So what we'll do today is we'll start adding data to these tables. And to do that, I'm going to be using Atom once again. So I'm going to create a new file over here, or I'll actually save this existing untitled file, and I'll save this as l3.sql. Always remember, we want to make sure that we save the file with the correct extension so that Atom treats this file as a SQL file. So I'll go ahead and save this, and now I'll start writing my code. In fact, what we could also do is bring our previous bit of code from our previous lesson into this environment over here. So I'll click on L2, I'll split this over, so we'll have a side-by-side comparison of how these files are related or how they work together. So I'll just extend this for more screen real estate. And now essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to start inserting data according to the table structure that we have over here. Also take note that by the end of the previous lesson, we added this new column of product description. So while this column might not be visible over here, we can actually see that it is still visible inside of our database. So if I expand this over here, you'll notice I have a product description column under my products table as well. Wonderful. So let's get coding. Now, in order to insert new data inside of our tables, we need a specific command, and you pretty much guessed it. This is going to be the insert statement. So I'll start by saying insert, and this too can be used in uppercase. In this case, SQL does not mind. So I'll say insert into, and then I'll name the table that I want to insert something into, and I'll say products. And I'm going to open up my parentheses and start adding in the things that I need to add. So if we look at our table over here, we need to add a product code, a product name, a price, a category, as well as the product description, which we added after creating our table. This is where we altered our table once again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start adding in these products. So I'll say product code. I'll then say product name, and then I'll say product description, product price, and then lastly, category code. So let's expand this slightly. So what I've done with this line of code is I've essentially said, okay, I'm going to insert into my products table, into these columns, I'm going to add these values. So I need the values keyword at the end of here. So if I come to the next line, I can start adding in the actual records of data. So I'll open up a new parenthesis over here. I'll say 1. This is going to be my code, my product code for this data over here, or this piece of data over here. My next one is going to be a corner sofa. So if you've guessed correctly, we are going to be building a database to store items such as furniture and so on, a popular e-commerce category, if you will. So I'll say corner sofa over here. Notice that I also wrap my strings in quotation marks. Then I'll move on to the next one. And the next thing I need to add is my product description. Now I'll simply copy and paste what I have so that we don't have to sit here all day and type out a bunch of text. So I'll copy my existing text, open up my quotation marks, and this is simply a modern day corner sofa suitable for a small family. Pretty neat. Next, I'm going to add in the product price. And that's going to be 1150. And then I'll add in 100 over here. So remember, depending on your currency, this could be euros, this could be dollars, this could be pounds. I'm simply just working off a number basis over here. So you could consider euros or pounds, for example, if you wanted to. And then I'm going to add a comma over here, move over to the next line, and now I can insert the second record. So I'll give this a code of 2. This is going to be a 3-seat sofa. And the description for this is, once again, I'm going to copy and paste what I already have. So open up my quotation marks, ideal for those who love crashing in front of the television. Wonderful. So the next item is going to be the price, which is 700. And then we'll simply add in 100 as the category code over here. Now, do take note that category code is a foreign key in my products table. And because both of these are sofas, they belong to the same category. That is to say, the category code 100 over here would be a specific category. Now, in the categories table, the category code is a primary key. Very, very important. So I'll move over to the next line, and then I'll add in the rest of my data. So over here, I'll have the number 3 for the code, the product code. Then I'll add in something like queen size bed, and the description for this is going to be a queen size luxury comfort bed. Next, I'll go ahead and add in the price as well. That's going to be 1,300. Likewise, we'll have a code of 101. So now you'll see that this code varies from the first 2 items because these 2 items belong to the same category. A bed, on the other hand, is a completely different category. Now, what I'm simply going to do is copy and paste the last 2 items, since you should be able to start to see the trend when it comes to inserting records. So I'll simply just add a comma over here, and then I'll add my last 2 records. Notice that this comma outside of my parentheses of this record separates it from the next one. Likewise, the same applies over here, and then this semicolon is just me wrapping up this block of code. Excellent. So let's move over to inserting data inside of our categories table. So I'm going to say insert into my categories table, and I'm going to insert the category code over here. Then I'm going to insert my category name. Likewise, I'll insert the category description, and then I'm going to add the values for this. So we only have 3 columns inside of here, and we can see that by just looking at our table from our previous lesson. We have the code, the name, and the description. So simply going to add the values keyword over here, because this lets my SQL database know that, okay, I'm going to start adding in these values that come after this keyword. So the first one over here is going to be the code of 100, the category code. And this is simply going to be sofas. And then I'll add in a description over here, and I'm simply just going to copy and paste my existing description. So open up my quotation marks and then select from a range of sofas. Great. Now I'm going to add in the other two by simply copying and pasting them. So on a new line, I also have category code 101 and 102. So we've got beds and we've got kitchen tables, and then we've got the description associated with each of them. So this essentially is going to insert the new data into my table. But let's see if we have any errors as we start to insert this data set. So I'll save this now. And now I'm going to copy my first set over here. That's my products. So I'll copy this, head back over, and what I'll do now is simply go over to SQL, make sure I'm inside of my database over here, my underscore DB, and I'll simply paste my code. And I'm going to run this. And you'll notice immediately I get an error. And if we look at the error message, it says something about a foreign key constraint that is failing. Now the reason for this is, and this was of course suspected, the reason for this is because we don't have any categories with specific IDs added to our database just yet. If you remember from our previous demonstration, we had a very similar error where we had to add the categories table before we could add the products table. So I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to head back over to Atom, and I'm going to grab the data associated with my categories table, and I'll simply paste that in over here. And we should expect this to work just fine. So I'll click on go, and there we go, success message, everything has been inserted. Now we'll try and add the products in. So I'll copy this, head back over, show query box, clear this up, paste, and go. And we have a success message. Now the reason this is successful is because if we expand this column over here, if we expand this database over here, if we have a look at our categories, we note that we had to insert the data associated with the categories first so that we can get that dependency on the foreign key, or the primary key rather, from our categories table. Because remember, there is a dependency or a relationship between the categories and the products table. For the products to be added successfully, the category codes had to exist, and those codes come from the category table over here. Wonderful. Now we can actually start querying our database. So what I'm going to do now is head back over to Atom, but first open up a new CRUD over here. And the code we are going to run now are essentially DML statements. And remember, DML statements, otherwise known as data manipulation language, allows us to query and manipulate the data inside of our database. So on a new line, I'm going to start with the most simple one, and that is select asterisk. This just means select all from a specific table. In this case, I'm going to select something from one of the tables that we already created, and that's going to be our products table. So select all from products, and then close this off. Now if I copy this code and I bring this over into my SQL environment, again, we want to make sure we are inside of my DB. If I paste this now and I run this, this is going to retrieve all the data that we inserted. You'll notice we have the corner sofa, the 3-seat sofa, the queen size bed, and so on. The 5-piece kitchen table, as well as the 9-piece kitchen table. The prices are included, the category codes are included, as well as the product description. So we can safely say that every single piece of data that we inserted was successful. So what else can we do with a select statement? Well, there are a bunch of things. Imagine that we didn't want to grab every single item, but we wanted to grab a specific item with a specific characteristic or attribute. So I'm going to say select all from the products table once again, and I'm going to use the where clause over here. The where clause is not something we've covered, but you can think of the where clause as a way to filter the data output that you're going to get. So essentially I'm saying select all from products where the product code is equal, or is the equivalent of 1. So I'll copy this, head back over, clear up my box, And now if I run this statement, I'll only get corner sofa. And that is because the code for this is 1. Remember, we only want the products where the product code is equal to 1. And we know we only have 1 because this is a unique identifier. The product code is a unique identifier. So what else can we do with SQL statements? So I'm going to erase this now. And we'll do one where the category code is the equivalent of 100. So we'll just erase everything up until here. And I'll say the category code is equal to 100. And if all works out well, what we should be retrieving are these two items over here, the corner sofa and the 3-seat sofa. Why? Because these category codes are equal to 100. So let's copy and make sure that this is the case. So query box, paste, and if I hit go, you'll notice that I've retrieved the sofas. Wonderful. So let's erase this and let's see what else we can do. So now I'm going to do one where we filter between two prices. So I'm going to select all from products where product price is between, this is another reserved keyword in SQL, where the price is between 750 and 1,300. Now this should be inclusive of both 750 and 1,300. So now what we expect to get is all products where the price of those products is anywhere between 750 and 1,300. So I'll copy this, hit back over, and I'll simply paste this in, hit go, and we have 3 products with that price. Our 9-piece kitchen table of 750, our queen size bed of 1,300, and our corner sofa of 1,150. 2 other products were excluded over here because they did not fall in the range of 750 and 1,300. Excellent. So let's move on to another example. So what if I wanted to just grab specific columns? Well, I could simply do that. I'll erase everything up until my select statement. And then I'll say select the product name from products. Close that off. And now if we copy this over, show query box, paste. So we've essentially said select the product name from products. So if I go, I'll only retrieve the product names, and you'll notice that the IDs or the codes and the price and the description has been excluded. I could take this a step further, for example, and I could add a where clause if I wanted to. So I'll hit back over to Atom. So I'll say product name from products where the category code is equal to 102. Close this off. I'll copy this now, hit back over, paste, and if I hit go, I've only retrieved 2 products. Now, note that even though I said where category code is equal to 102, that category code is not being displayed. And this is expected because we only wanted the product names. So if I hit back over to Atom, we'll actually see that 102 and 102 over here are the kitchen tables. And we can validate and make sure that that is the case simply by looking at our database. Wonderful. So let's take it a step further. I'm going to hit back over into Atom. And now instead of just retrieving 1 column, I'm going to retrieve several columns. So what we could do is we could essentially add the product price as well. So I'll say product name, and then I also want the product price. And we'll keep the where clause that says category code equal to 102. So I'll head back over, show query box, clear this up, hit go, and now I've retrieved both the price as well as the product name. Excellent. Now this is all good and well. These queries are very commonly used. But what happens if we wanted to, for example, grab the name, the price, and a bunch of other parameters or attributes or columns from our products table, but we also wanted the category description or category name even for those specific products? What you'll notice is that we run into a slight issue because category name is not a part of our products table, and we can actually validate that by looking over here. All we have is the category code, and guess what? This is actually enough, because with the category code we can bridge the two tables, we can build that relationship so that we can grab the category name from this table over here and assign it into our single output. This is the importance of primary and foreign keys. Primary and foreign keys allow you to build relationships between tables so that you can join data. This is called joining in SQL. So let's go ahead and write our first join. So to perform a join, first I'll remove the statement over here, and then I'll go ahead and say select products dot product name, and then I'll go ahead and I'll say products, and what I want as another output is going to be the product price, so product price, and then I'll go ahead and say categories, the category code, and then perhaps I want the category name. Instead of retrieving the category code, let's actually just get the name. So I'll say category name, and now I need to specify my from condition. So I'm going to say from products join categories on, and I'll explain in a second what's going on over here. Join products dot category code equal to categories dot category code. So let's just review this code. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm grabbing the product's name from the products table. You can think of this as an alias, if you will, but we can also change aliases. So I'm grabbing the product name from the product table. I'm grabbing the product price from the products table. I'm grabbing the category name from the categories table. And then from the products table, I'm grabbing all of this and I'm joining the categories and products table together. And there is one key factor that these two tables have in relation, and that is the product code. So I'm saying the category code from the products table and the category code from the categories table is our joining factor, or our relationship between these two tables. And this is how we can build that relationship. So if all works out well, what we should retrieve then is the name, the price, and the category name, which is housed in this table over here, our categories table, and we should get a query result with the three outputs. So if I head back over to show query box, paste this now, and I run this, you'll notice that I get my product name, my product price, and my category name. So now I was able to bridge two tables together by using a commonly shared factor, and that is once again my category code. I did not have to output my category code over here. I simply just had to use it in my join so that I can bridge the two tables together and retrieve the data set that I want. So let's say, for example, that you wanted to update a category name. Maybe there was some change that happened in your e-commerce store, and now you need that change to be reflected in your database. Well, we can use an update statement to achieve this. So I'm simply going to create an update statement over here, and I'm going to say update my categories table and set the category name equal to dining tables. So let's once again just say, for argument's sake, you don't want kitchen tables as a category name, but you wanted to change it to something like dining tables, which could be a good alternative. You could easily do that with an update statement. So on the next line over here, I'll simply say where category code is equal to 102. So I'm simply just going to push this back. One thing to take note of here, and this is quite important, if we do not specify the where clause, if we have to leave the where clause out and we run this code just like this, what's going to happen is that every category name is going to be updated. So kitchen tables, beds, and sofas. So it's important to add your where clause so that you can target only a specific category. In this case, I'm targeting the category name with a category code of 102. So let's copy this now. let's maybe create a fresh box over here, and I'll paste this over here. And if I run this now, you'll notice a success message. So how can we actually validate that this has been changed? Well, I can simply navigate to category name over here. And if I click on category name and I hit the browse tab over here, you'll notice that kitchen tables is no longer the category name, but instead we have dining tables, which is what we put through our query. And that is basically it for today's lesson. In our next lesson, we're going to start preparing for our major project. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of having core major projects by the end of each module. And that is what we're going to prepare for using SQL. So for all of that and more, I'll see you in the next lesson.